Hey friends, welcome back. In today's video, I need to tell you about a life update I have, and also I'll be sharing with you a delicious low-cost recipe. I'll explain more about my situation later, but first, let's get in the kitchen and get to cooking. I'm a sucker for a recipe with a story behind it, so when I saw this recipe in the New York Times for eggs KEJRIWAL, I knew I had to make it on my channel. Plus, it uses inexpensive ingredients, so it works well for a budget channel. To me, this actually seems like an American recipe with ingredients we eat a lot of here in the US. However, this recipe is actually from Mumbai, although chefs all over have been creating their own spin on this dish. I picked up this loaf of batard bread at Trader Joe's, but you can use any bread, and in fact the recipe calls for thick slices of pullman bread, which I had to look that up, but I guess that's just the sandwich loaf bread, also known as pan bread. Mine will probably be far crispier and chewier than the original recipe, but that's okay because that's what I like. I'll be using cheddar, but again, use whatever you have in your house at the time. I do think cheddar is gonna be best, but I know that the original recipe called for a processed cheese, so if you have American cheese, that might work as well. And then I'm gonna cut this jalapeno into some super thin slices. I think the New York Times recipe called for some serrano chilies, which are way too hot for me, so I'll just be using that. The New York Times recipe used some diced red onions, which I don't have. I do have this shallot and some green onions. I really don't like red onions all that much anyway. They're a little too strong for me, so I think I'll use some shallot. Maybe I'll just use some of the green onions for some garnishment. And then a little bit of cilantro was added into the New York Times recipe. I don't think that's original. Now, if you're on an extreme budget, maybe this is what your ingredients look like. You just have bread, eggs, cheese, and mustard. And I don't know if we've ever talked before about the combination of mustard with cheese, but it is so delicious. One of my favorite snacks is to take a half of a bagel and put a layer of mustard on there and then cheese and then melt it in the microwave. It gets all chewy and it's just so delicious to have that mustard against the cheddar, and I usually use just a regular mustard for that. But anyway, I'm going to cut these up, and I wanted to tell you the story behind this recipe. According to a writer from Bon Appetit magazine, as the story goes, it all began with a love affair with eggs that is now the stuff of urban legend. There was a rich merchant in Bombay. His name was KEJRIWAL, and he loved eggs, but the only problem was that, like many practitioners of Hinduism, his family didn't eat eggs, so he used to go to a sports club in Bombay to order eggs, but he asked the chef to disguise the dish in case anyone that he knew saw him. The chef made him 2 toasts piled high with eggs and melted cheese and green chilies, with so much cheese that there was no way to know that there were eggs underneath. I was curious about this club, so I looked it up, and it's still in operation today. It's like an old money social club that also has a golf course, tennis courts, and health club, and it has formal and semi-formal restaurants. Apparently, it's very prestigious, and it's in such high demand that membership has actually been closed since 1985, and the only way to be a member of this club is if you're a child of current members. So now that you know the backstory on this recipe, let's put this together. I rarely use butter on toast, but since I purchased this already for my next recipe, I thought I would go ahead and try pan toasting one of my pieces of bread with some butter. I could use all butter, but this already feels a little exorbitant, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little olive oil in here. While that's toasting, I'll cook 2 eggs in a separate pan. You may be wondering what I was alluding to earlier about my life change. Many of you know I've been trying to do my channel full time, but unfortunately I do need to go back to work. For most of the time that I've had my channel, I've also worked a full-time job. So in that regard, this isn't a big change. But some things have been different since I've been doing this full-time for the last year. I've been able to make sure that I'm getting new videos out every Sunday, and I've also been able to focus more on budget challenge videos. Those are the most popular videos on my channel and also the most fun for me but they also take a long time to produce, especially the videos where I'm doing 7 meals or more. Those usually take between 5 and 6 days to produce. I had quite a few comments from subscribers on my last video saying they were surprised that I don't have more viewers. I think that the reason that I don't is because my channel is kind of unique. I've realized that you need to have a very narrow focus for the types of content that you produce, which is kind of antithetical to my approach to food and to cooking on this channel. I've even wondered if the fact that I sometimes cook meat, but not always, is a problem. Since I'm in the extreme budget space and meat is so expensive, I just don't cook with it a lot. Plus, I don't really eat it myself. I know that I do have a lot of vegetarian and vegan viewers, but I also have a lot of viewers that eat meat. So I don't know, maybe I've messed up there. I've been playing around with gluten-free toast. So for my second piece, I'm going to use this gluten-free bread that I picked up. I think it's available at Walmart. It's a seeded bread and I've really liked it. I've decided that if I had to, I could definitely go gluten-free. I also think my refusal to make shorts has definitely hurt my channel. I know that a lot of viewers don't really understand this, but YouTube wanted all of its creators to be doing shorts, and so by doing shorts, they would start pushing your long form content and vice versa if you didn't do shorts. But for me, I just always felt that shorts didn't fit into the style of videos that I make. However, I did recently start making them, and what I'm doing with those is basically just filming the food that I eat on a daily basis. That way it's not extra work for me, but hopefully it's interesting content for some of my viewers. And if I'm using something that's a more expensive ingredient, then I'm just going to throw that short onto the recipes channel. I want to thank all of my supporters, both on Patreon and here on YouTube, that have helped to support my channel. If I get to the point where I'm not able to produce content, then I'll definitely shut those off. But if you want to shut that off now, I completely understand. I won't be able to make the long videos. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't be the kind of quality that you're used to. And that's actually the rub, because the better at editing that you get, the shorter your videos are, the less money that you make. Now let's talk about my job. I think this job actually might be perfect for me because I think I'm going to have the option to work 4 days a week. And in the future, I also have the option to work part-time, but I'm going to have to do training first. And I think that's going to last about a month. I'll probably bring back the $5 food adventures and I'll start doing a segment on inexpensive but delicious work lunches. So maybe I'll show you what I take to work for my lunch because I know I'm going to be focused on trying to get some healthy, inexpensive meals that are also interesting and enjoyable. I'm sure I'll make more meal prep videos and try to focus on methods to keep the overall cooking time down. Some of you guys are practically like family now, so I did want to share this with you just so you know what's going on with me.
People knew her by her will to make it whatever she put her mind to. Late night hours up the hill, serving coffee to strangers, talking about revenue.
The mustard goes so well with the cheese, and I'm glad we use the shallots because they're nice and mild, but yet they're crispy. And same thing with the jalapenos. They're very mild, but they add so much to this dish. This is a very rich dish, and that mustard does help to balance that out. I think it might benefit from even a little more acidity, so I'll probably add some chili garlic sauce on here or some sambal oelek. For my viewers that can't eat garlic, sambal oelek is the sauce for you because it doesn't have any garlic and it's delicious. My son loved this, and he said the mustard was what made this so good. He tried making one for himself with a different kind of cheese. It was a Parmesan Asiago mix, and in the end though, he said that he thought the cheddar was much better. I know this is a short video, but I have lots to do before I start work, and also I'm trying to make a couple of videos in advance so that I can make sure to stick to my Sunday posting routine. That's it guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you Sunday, if not sooner, on my other channel.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. so